Let me get this straight. Mitt Romney wants to go back to the days when the media you saw last night was all we had. Those were the good old days, right? Greetings, my friends. Great to have you here, Rush Limbaugh. And the Rush Limbaugh program here on the EIB network, the most listened to radio talk show in the country. Thrill and a delight to have you here. The telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Before the debate started, we had CNBC on in the House. A bunch of people were watching, and it was inane listening to this CNBC pre-debate roundtable discuss what was coming. It was literally insane or inane. It was pointless. It was just chatterbox chatter. And I hadn't paid much attention to this debate before last night. I had to be reminded last week this debate was even happening. Frankly, I'm into the World Series because my team, the Royals, is in it. And this debate kind of was not on my radar until yesterday, actually. So it wasn't until yesterday that I knew who the moderators of this thing would have been. I'm going to tell you, folks, when I saw John Harwood's name on the moderator list, I knew that we were headed for one of the most biased nights that we were going to see, because if there's anybody openly and willing to act as though he is in the Hillary camp, it is John Harwood. New York Times, former Wall Street Journal, now CNBC. The display that we got last night was a culmination of everything that many of us have been trying to tell the American people that drive-by media is. Arrogant, smug. I mean, it goes so far beyond bias. Bias doesn't even cover what happened last night. That was a kill show last night. That show was designed to kill every one of those candidates. That debate last night was designed to take them all out. That debate last night was to grease the skids for Hillary Clinton. That was the sole purpose of that debate last night. And the smugness and the arrogance and the condescension with which those moderators went about it finally came back and bit them, to the point that everybody watching that debate, everybody, even other drive-by media types, saw what was going on. And you can count on one hand the number of drive-by media types defending what happened last night on CNBC. And one of them you don't even really count because his mind is lost long ago, and that's Chris Matthews. So you can count on four fingers the number of drive-bys that are actually defending. Ron Fournier even last night said that what happened, the mainstream media is getting beat up today, and we deserve it, he said. And he's exactly right. I want to take you back before we get into debate analysis, because I started fuming with that very first question. Please tell us, what is your biggest weakness? Right then, you knew the table was set. You knew what was coming. And it ticked me off that some of our people even deigned to answer it. The whole premise behind that question is, tell us why you're not qualified. And if there was a theme to this debate last night from these moderators, it was to expose the fact that these fine people, any one of which would be preferable to Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama, is not qualified. And it bugs me, and it has me fuming, this automatic assumption that any Democrat, the architects of the current economic disaster, the people, the only fingerprints on this economic disaster, well, at least for the first 5 years, were the Democrat Party. When you talk about Obamacare, there aren't any Republican fingerprints. We have 94 million Americans not working. We got half the country making less than $30,000 a year. And these people, these moderators, attempted to say that the people seeking the presidency on that stage last night are not qualified, coupled with the automatic assumption that Hillary Clinton is qualified, that Barack Obama is qualified, that Joe Biden or whoever else on the Democrat side is. I tell you, it offends me, and it has offended me my entire life. But I want to take you back to this very program, all the way back to April 14th, where I issued a warning to the RNC and Republican candidates. When Good Morning America calls you, understand it's not Good Morning America, it's the Hillary Clinton campaign calling you, because George Stephanopoulos is at Good Morning America, and that's where he really works, is the Hillary campaign, or the Bill Clinton War Room. And so you would no more accept an invitation to be interviewed by Hillary Clinton's campaign consultant. So why would you accept an invitation to be interviewed by Hillary's campaign consultant disguised as an anchor on Good Morning America? And the same thing goes for whoever it is that moderates these debates that are yet to happen. If the Republicans fall for this business of letting Clinton campaign operatives moderate their debates, we're told, but Rush, that look, that's the lay of the land. Everybody knows it, and it's an obstacle the Republicans have. It's reality that the Democrats don't. And everybody knows it. And therefore, the Republicans have to prove they can overcome this unfairness. Really, why is that the case? It's apparently been required of the Republicans for 35 years that they demonstrate they're willing to deal with this unfairness. It seems like they've demonstrated for a number of decades they're willing to do it. The point is, it doesn't seem to help them much. It remains an obstacle that has to be overcome. I know it's a challenging exercise to come up with alternative means here of reaching the American people. But one of the ways, this is a great field of candidates that the Republicans have who can reach the American people by going over the heads of the media, and they should not be afraid to do so. Yet the RNC schedules these debates, and they schedule these debates with the very enemies of the Republican. And we all know, everybody knows they are the enemy. They're not just the media. They are the enemy. And yet the scheduling continues. And we all know why. The Republican Party, inside the Beltway, the establishment, whatever you want to call it, thinks they have to bend over backward to prove their fairness, that they are not all of these things they're alleged to be. And so they take every option, every opportunity to try to show these people, no, you misunderstand this. We're not racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe. There's no changing their minds. Those moderators last night didn't care a whit what these candidates really think about anything. You can tell that by the virtue of the questions. They didn't have any interest whatsoever in what these candidates thought. The only objective they had was to take them out. From top to bottom, the objective here was to take these candidates out, to impugn them, to discredit them, to destroy them, whatever it took in the eyes of the public, to ruin their reputations, to mock them, to mischaracterize them. That was the sole purpose. But it's not just last night where this happens every day. The media needs to be removed from the equation here. Everybody knows that. But how do you do it? One of the great issues of our time is how to counteract the damage inflicted by a corrupt media which is aligned with the Democrat Party. We have serious issues facing this country, and we do not, not enough sectors of our party do we acknowledge the full scope of our enemy. Ted Cruz last night. Oh, and by the way, wait till you hear the audio sound bites as they roll off today. Wait till all the drive-by media people say, whoa, did you see Ted Cruz? Boy, everybody better keep their eye on Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is the dark horse. Ted Cruz is the guy you better keep your eye on. Where have you been hearing that, folks? Ted Cruz finally had his fill of it. You have to ask yourself, if Cruz had not done what he did, would any of the other candidates have spoken up as forcefully? I don't think so, because I think there's this built-in fear of going against the media, because the criticism is, you mean you can't handle questions in the media and you want to be president of the United States? Come on, you can't be serious. You need to toughen up. And that's the wrong way to look at this, because we're not dealing with tough questions here. We're not dealing with challenging questions here. We're dealing with assassins. We're dealing with character assassins. We're dealing with career assassins. That's who the media is today, vis-a-vis the Republican Party. And it doesn't matter. You can have all the nice guys in the world, the Mitt Romneys and whatever. You're not going to change their mind. You can have all of the pliant, cross the aisle. I want to work with you. I want to cooperate with you. We want to work together to get things done. You can have all the Republicans in the world, and all you're going to get is mocked and laughed at. When you fall for the trick and try to sidle up to the media and the Democrat Party that way, they just privately laugh at you and talk about how they have you wrapped around their little finger. You can't impress them. You can't dazzle them. You can't change their minds about you because they don't care to like you. They don't care to have you on their side. Their sole mission is to destroy you because of their quest for power, which is what this is all about. That's what politics is all about, is power. And they make no bones about it, and they don't care how it is they acquire it. If they have to tell a lie about Mitt Romney not paying his taxes for 10 years, if they have to tell a lie about Mitt Romney essentially letting an employee's wife die, and he didn't care about it because there was no help, they don't care. There's nothing that stops them because they know they're never going to be called on it. Hillary Clinton's never going to have her campaign or her existence characterized as cartoonish. She is never going to have her criminal past and her husband's criminal past called up and have people reminded of it. It's going to be glossed over and, in fact, marveled at how clever the Clintons are at combining all the things that they do to get where they go. But it's not even that. It's just they're all of the same mind, folks. They're all of the same mindset. They are all extremist leftists. Some of them are disguised as elected officials. Some of them disguised as candidates. Some of them disguised as journalists. Some of them are disguised as think tank specialists. Some of them disguised as people that run nonprofits. Some of them disguised as college professors. Some of them disguised as CEOs, but they're all leftists. And that is the most important thing in their life, is their ideology and advancing their agenda. We are their biggest enemy, foreign and domestic. We, conservatives specifically, Republicans secondly, their biggest enemy. And so we faced another hit squad last night, and they were finally called out on it. Did you notice that not one of them seemed to be bothered by it? Did you notice Harwood? Nothing but smirk and smile. Becky Quick, smirk and smile. Carl Quintanilla, smirk and smile. They didn't care. To them today, it's mission accomplished. A, everybody's talking about them. B, when they talk among themselves, they're congratulating themselves for actually characterizing Trump as a cartoon character. Ben Carson as being stupid and shallow, and on down the list. They think mission accomplished. Don't doubt me on this. They're not feeling chagrined. They're not embarrassed. And all the drive-bys on TV that you see, and there are many of them condemning what they saw last night, that's for show. This is not going to cause one iota change in the media as per how they affect and treat Republicans. It isn't going to change a thing. That's why Republicans are now compelled to continue the behavior that they began last night. It is not a negative. After what everybody saw last night, it's not whining, it's not complaining to now consider the media as part of the opposition. It's not childish. As I say, it's not whining, it's not complaining. That debate last night exposed every fatal flaw of the media-moderated debate model. One of the great issues of our time, and it's now more pressing than it's ever been, is how to counteract the daily damage inflicted by a corrupt media, who, again, are simply disguised. They are truly Democrat Party activists. We have an existential threat to our country, to the constitutional republic that is America. And it is a mistake for Republicans to ask these people, these leftist political hacks, to conduct inquisitions of them called debates. It's kind of laughable for the RNC, which scheduled this whole thing to, at the end of the night, run around talking about how horrible it was. But I'm just telling you, these people are loving every minute of the expressed outrage by conservatives, both general public and elected officials, Republicans, you name it, privately, rubbing their hands together. Mission accomplished. They don't know shame. They don't know humiliation. This is all, it's just one night, folks. This is the rest of the campaign to get this job done. No, they're not disturbed. Because the other drive-bys are just giving lip service. The other drive-bys are not really upset. If the other drive-bys are upset by anything, it's that these people last night made it too obvious. They weren't subtle enough. The drive-bys who were not on that stage last night are probably huddling together saying, look, the next debate, we can't let these clowns at CNBC do it. They were too upfront. We got to be more subtle as we set out to destroy the GOP. We can't have it obvious that's what we're doing. I mean, hell, that thing last night's even going to convince the low-information voters that we're a bunch of creeps. That's what they're worried about. They're not shamed. This is I've been trying to express this in any number of ways since the program began.